ready? Alright, as I approach my vehicle, I'm making sure it's not leaning to the left or the right. That would indicate load shift, flat tire, or a suspension problem. Up top, I've got 5 amber lights, properly mounted, not cracked down. 3 lights in the middle are my identification lights, 2 lights on the outside are my clearance lights. I come down to my headlights. They're properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. They're clean and free of any condensation. My my headlights have 2 functions, high beam and low beam. My amber lights have 3 functions, running, turning, and emergency. I then would look underneath my truck, make sure I've got no loose hanging wires and no puddles that would call for a leak. I'm gonna open up my hood. General overview of all my hoses. My hoses, my electrical lines. They are not cut, torn, or frayed, cracked, broken, or damaged. They're not leaking. There's no signs of corrosion. Got my alternator properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It has all of its nuts and bolts. No signs of corrosion. It is belt driven. My belt is not cut, torn, or frayed. It has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. Now we'll go over to my driver's side. General overview of all my hoses and my electrical lines. They're not cut, torn, or frayed, cracked, broken, or damaged, not leaking, and no signs of corrosion. Back here is my air compressor, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts, and it's not leaking. Work my way up, I've got my oil dipstick, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged, not leaking. So I would check my oil level. I pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it back out again, check the level. If necessary, I would add up to 1 gallon of oil at a time. Come forward, this is my water pump, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged, not leaking, has all of its nuts and bolts. It is belt driven. My belt is not cut, torn, or frayed, has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. My coolant reservoir and cap, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts, it's not leaking, and it's filled to manufacturer's specifications. Now come down to my power steering reservoir, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It's filled to the proper level. It's not leaking. Has all of its nuts and bolts. Its caps, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged, it's not leaking. Now we'll take my hose, follow my hose. It's in the hose under here. Follow your hose out, and it brings you back here to your power steering pump. My power steering pump, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts. It is not leaking, and it is gear driven. Since I'm doing my power steering stuff, I'm going to stick with my steering. So I've got my steering shaft and U-joints properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It's properly greased. Has no signs of excess play. My steering gearbox, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts and is not leaking. My pitman arm, my drag link, upper, back down here is my lower steering knuckles. And back here is my tie rod. They are not bent, broken, or damaged. They're properly greased and secured with castle nuts and cotter pins. My frame is not bent. No signs of illegal welds. My front and rear spring hangers, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts. My leaf spring, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. No signs of stepping. Causes of stepping would be a loose or broken U-bolt. My U-bolts are properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Have all their nuts. My shock absorber, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Properly secured on the top and on the bottom with bolts and rubber bushings. And they're properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged, and the shock absorber is not leaking. Now done with all my suspension stuff, so I work my way out. I've got my air line and my ABS line. They are not cracked, broken, or damaged, cut, torn, or frayed. There's no signs of leaking and no signs of corrosion. My brake chamber, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It has all of its nuts and bolts. It's not leaking. My push rod is not bent. My slack adjuster is properly greased, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It has all of its nuts and bolts. It is properly connected to my push rod with pins and cotter pins. And with my wheels chocked and my brakes released, I have no more than 1 inch of pull on my slack adjuster. My brake pads, brake shoes, brake linings, whatever you want to call them, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. They have no less than 1/4 inch of material and it's free of dirt, oil, and grease. My brake drum, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. It's also free of dirt, oil, and grease. Work my way out to my steer tire. My steer tire must be a virgin tire, must be evenly worn, must be no less than 4/32 of tread depth, must be the same brand, must be the same size. What I do to this side, I must do to the other side. And it cannot be retreaded or remanufactured. My tire sidewalls are free of any abrasion, bulges, cuts, or dry rot. My tire is properly seated or properly beaded to my rim. My rim is not cracked, broken, or damaged, no signs of illegal welds. It has a valve stem and cap. It's not bent, broken, or damaged, not touching my rim, not leaking. That's why I would check my air pressure with an air gauge and fill it to manufacturer specification. I've got 10 lug nuts. My lug nuts are not loose. Signs of looseness will be indicated by rust trails or metal shavings. My hub and oil seal, properly mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Has all of its nuts and bolts and is not leaking. Through a little sight glass in here, I would check my oil level, and if necessary, I'd fill it to manufacturer specification. That is your front of truck inspection.